Welcome to the UORadio Talk Show, episode number 20 on December 17, 2005, the place where we take all your gripes, questions, and concerns to the masses. So, with that said and everything, I'm going to go ahead and introduce everybody here with me today. We have DJ AzRek over here from Sonoma, who's going to be sitting in with us. And we, of course, have DJ Deadeye from Sonoma as well. And we have DJ Spyderbite from Sonoma. A bunch of people from Sonoma. Wow. And then, of course, we're going to have DJ Sakara coming in here shortly. She's kind of like running a little bit late. She's running her little legs off to get here. She's going to be from Atlantic, and I, of course, am DJ Viceroy from Chesapeake. So, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and go down the list and give them all a chance to, basically introduce themselves so that way you can put a voice with a name. So, starting with DJ AzRek, go ahead and say hello to everybody out there.
Hey, everybody.
All right, and that's him, AzRek from Sonoma, and then, of course, we have DJ Deadeye. Go ahead, Deadeye.
Yeah, good afternoon, Ultima Online. Thanks for joining us here at UORadio for the Saturday Talk Show. I'm sure we have some interesting and groovy things to talk about.
Yep, always very good and groovy things to talk about. And I just see Sakara working her way in here, through the back door, quietly working her way into the seat. And we'll get to her in just a moment. And then, of course, we have DJ Spyderbite here from Sonoma as well. And he will be DJing for you later on this afternoon, if I'm not mistaken. So go ahead and say hello to everybody out there.
Afternoon, everyone. You might want to add, I am also... like I like to call it bi-coastal, I also play Siege Perilous, so it's a 50-50 split between the two, and yes, I will be on tonight, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Yeah, we didn't need to know about the bi part though, but hey, that's cool. But go ahead, Sakara, and introduce yourself as well. She's from Atlantic. Well, I guess she's a little... Okay, there she is. Go ahead.
I'm here. I'm sorry. It's just that we just switched to Ventrilo, and I'm using a different talkback button, so I've lost the habit of using the one from TeamSpeak. So, anyways, hi, everyone. And I guess I won't be in IRC with you guys because it's not loving me right now. But pleasure to be here today.
Yeah, TeamSpeak Trader, slap. Well, anyways, this is always good to have you all here. And so with that said, we're going to go ahead and just dive into our, well, actually, I got a few announcements to make and everything before we get into our topics of discussion for this week and everything. I quickly want to let everybody know that we will not be having an interview tomorrow or for the next couple of weeks for that matter, because we do have, because next Sunday is going to be, let's see, that's going to be like Christmas Day and everything, and then the Sunday after that, that's going to be like New Year's Day. So, it's, not working out too well for the whole Your Radio schedule and everything. And, of course, the day before next Sunday, not tomorrow, but, the 24th, that's, of course, Christmas Eve and everything. So we won't be having a Your Radio Talk Show for the next couple of weeks after today because of, New Year's Eve and New Year's, and all that good stuff. So we'll leave it at that. And just quickly wanted to get that out there because I don't want you guys like, where are they at? I'm in this room and nobody seems to be here, and you hear the chirping of crickets, and you're like, where's everybody? Am I at the wrong place at the wrong time, or what? But anyways, go ahead, Deadeye.
Hey, listen, I don't know if anybody in the room, we have a lot of people here from Sonoma, but believe it or not, our very own DJ, used to be DJ Velvet, just hollered at me and reminded me that somewhere on Sonoma Shard, somebody's doing the Santa Claus thing, letting you go up and sit on his lap and tell him what you want and all that thing. Anybody know anything about that?
The Santa Claus thing. Yeah. Well, speaking of that, we're going to be actually talking about that a little bit later on about Balhae. If you ever look on the Japanese shard of Balhae, the Japanese, I already said it, the Japanese shard, you'll see Santa Claus running around, or at least standing still up on top of West Burton Bank. as Santa Claus. So go ahead, it's Spyderbite. I know you wanted to say something about Santa Claus. I guess you're looking forward to maybe sitting in his lap and visiting with him a little bit, right?
I don't know about sitting in his lap, but I think what Deadeye's referring to is in Darkmoor on Sonoma, which is on Malice, little township, my guild actually. They're doing a Christmas festival as we speak right now, and that is one of the events in it, as well as a Santa Claus look-alike contest.
All right, well, I just got corrected and everything. It's not Japanese shard or anything like that. It's actually Korean. So to be politically correct here, we gotta correct what I just said. It's actually a Korean shard. So for all you Japanese players out there or Koreans, don't get offended. I hope you ain't too mad with me. Y'all can hang me later or whatever. So with that said, we're actually gonna move along to our next little thing here and everything. We're actually going to start off with, let's see, I'm looking here. Okay, let's see. We're going to actually clarify a little something from last week, as a matter of fact, about, we made a big argument about whether or not EA should be banning players for, basically trapping players in their houses. Well, I did a little bit more research, talked to a little bit of people from EA and everything, and it seems that I might have misunderstood on that and everything, so I want to go ahead and take the time now to clarify that for the records. Apparently what's going on is that, it wasn't so much about, creating a fenced-in area or something that nobody could get out of, or whatever. I don't think that's the issue of the whole trapping thing and everything. I don't think that's why they was getting banned. I think what it was, if my memory serves me correctly, is that people were going in between houses, like with like a little one-tile space in between houses. And what people were doing was placing doors on the side of their houses and everything. And what they would do is basically, somebody would be on the inside of the house, and, whenever there's a fight going on or something like that, and people are trying to get away or trying to maneuver through the, houses and everything, well, what happened is that somebody in one of these houses had the doors on the side, and they would open up the doors and basically block them with the doors by opening them up on the side of the house, preventing them with no escape or anything like that. And then, of course, you either had somebody in pursuit behind them, or you had doors on both sides being open where they was trapped in the middle, and they couldn't, of course, they couldn't close the door because you have to have the permissions to close the doors and stuff like that. So, that was the issue regarding, the banishment or the banning or the reprimand with regards to, trapping players with the use of your house. So I just want to quickly put that out there for the record and everything. And now that I got that out of the way, also want to point out, it seems that EA's put up a toll-free customer support number on their website, UO.com now. So if you're ever, out there wondering about the what's the toll-free number to call whenever you have a problem with something regarding your Ultima Online account, it's now officially up on the UO.com website now, whereas, before it wasn't. So I think that was just put up sometime this week, and I'm actually kind of curious as to what you guys think. You guys think that was a good thing? I mean, surely you have to all agree with me. If you agree, just nod your head. Yes, I'm sure you all are in agreement that that was a good thing. So, we won't go into details about that. Let's see, what's next here? Actually, just going down the list here. Also, another great thing in which came out, as you all probably know, Publish 38. It's now live on all the shards. And some of the things that really interested me about Publish 38, which I'm still a little bit curious about, because we haven't seen or heard anything about it yet, and that's with regards to the name change tokens and the sex change tokens. That was included with Publish 38, but it's not available for purchase yet. And so I'm kind of curious as to whether or not you guys think that maybe we'll see this be made available prior to Christmas or something, maybe as a Christmas present, which you give to all your little Ultima Online friends and stuff like that, or what? Do you guys think we'll see that before Christmas? Go ahead, Spyderbite.
I don't think we're going to see it before Christmas. It's a possibility, but it takes them a while to get those web pages updated. And the way I understand it to work, and I think I touched on this last week, was that it's going to work exactly the way the name change service does now, except it's going to take the interaction of the GM out of the equation. So basically, somebody will go to uogamecodes.com, spend their $20, and they'll get a code to go redeem and get a name change token, and then thus be able to do that. That UO Game Codes, I have never seen it updated quicker than 2 weeks, and Christmas is next week, so no, not before Christmas, not in my opinion.
Well, I just think if they was to be able to maybe somehow get it up before Christmas and everything, that would be such a great thing in terms of sales or sales opportunity from a marketing standpoint of view. Because, hey, that's when everybody's out, purchasing gifts and everything, and what better thing to give to somebody that you know in Ultima Online who's looking to change their name or change the gender of their character and stuff like that. Maybe we'll hear from EA on something about that with regards to, the buying of name change tokens or sex change tokens, whatever you want to call them. So maybe we'll hear from them. Who knows? Go ahead, Spider.
Just one comment. You got a good point there. A sex change token, it's the gift that keeps on giving, I suppose.
Very good point. So I guess, wow, I'm actually kind of surprised that, we're even seeing the sex change tokens and everything. And just for all you guys out there who are not really fully aware what the sex change, I think it speaks for itself, but in case you're one of those people who are not on the brighter side, it's basically what it's going to do is allow you to switch the gender of your character and everything. And the name change tokens, I heard a lot of arguments and everything made about that because a lot of people are concerned, how often are you going to be able to, change the name of your character? Are you going to be able to do it as many times as you want, or are you going to have like a time limit set on that or something like that? I'm kind of curious as to how that's going to work. But go ahead, AzRek.
Well, I just want to say to Spidey with the whole sex change thing, ew. That gift that keeps on giving. You're ew.
Yeah, I know. Well, I don't know what to say about that. I'm not going to say anything. I just am, still, I'm kind of, I remember when we first heard about the ideal, and we actually found this out from Mr. Tat when we interviewed him back on September the 4th, right here on UORadio, and he was like, we are going to be rolling out these sex change tokens, name change tokens, and this was like all new to us, so it was kind of like a, spoiler, so to speak, and everything, hearing it from Mr. Tact. And we was like, what did you just say? Name change tokens and sex change? Because I don't even think any of the players on Ultima Online ever saw this coming to Ultima Online. Go ahead, Sakara.
Oh my god, I gotta get used to this view button, I'm sorry. Well, I think a lot of people were hoping for it. I know I definitely was, and I'm quite happy about it because there's a few characters of mine that were created by my beloved brother that have the most horrible names, and they definitely need to change. Not only that, but also they have the wrong gender. I don't like running around on a male character, and once you've 120 your characters, you really don't want to have to do them all over again, especially when you have like 120 majory that costs like an arm and a leg. So,
well, that's very good that you say that because if you're going to change the gender of your character, for example, then you would probably need to change the name of your character as well because you don't. Yeah, you most certainly wouldn't want to have a guy character, with the sex change and everything, with a girl's name. For example, one of my characters' name on Chesapeake is Myra. Yeah, very simplistic. But if I was to ever change her gender to a guy, then I would of course have to change the name as well, right? Because it would only make sense to, I guess. I guess there would be some people out there who would go around with a girl's name for a guy. I don't know why you would want to do that, but that's good. That's a good marketing strategy from the point of view that you would be, having to change the name as well, because that's basically, two sales opportunities, so to speak. And so with that said, we're actually going to, unless you guys have anything else that you want to add to that, we're going to move on to the next topic here. So looking here at the TeamSpeak and everything, I don't see any comments that anybody want to make. So with that said, we're going to move on to the next topic. What do you think about scripters? Do you think they are ruining your gameplay at all? And if so, how are they ruining your gameplay directly? I actually saw this post on Stratix U-Haul today, and that does raise a very interesting point. How does it directly affect your gameplay? And you know, because I want to hear the arguments, because I've already given my arguments, and I'm kind of wanting to get all aspects of this, different views. Some people say, it's not an issue, it doesn't really affect your gameplay at all, just leave us alone, let us do our scripting, go about your business. That's what a lot of people are saying nowadays. So, starting with AzRek, go ahead.
Okay, first off, I am against scripting. I'll admit I've used that horrendous little application, but that's just to sort my jewelry. And don't even get me started on the promised jewelry boxes at one time. Somebody actually said they were going to give us jewelry boxes that never materialized. But as far as affecting my gameplay, I have two mules now between the 9 accounts I have. Now, both have GM carpentry and GM lumberjacking. But I'm going to get frostwood, bloodwood, heartwood, or in some cases even oak ash or yew, and there's somebody chopping away. I'll say hi to them several times, and luckily, I farm in fell, so it's easy enough there. We can take care of that problem when I go get my other characters. But what really affects the gameplay is how it affects the economy. I have to shell out a good amount of my hard-earned gold to get the materials that these scripters are getting without even being at the keyboard. I play maybe an hour, 2 hours a day, because while unemployed, I have other things that I need to do around the house, laundry, whatnot. So I can't just sit here 16 hours a day and play away. So now, since I have to pay them, they're making money off of me, which wouldn't be bad if they were playing, the same manner I was. But they're not even at the computer. They're at work. And because they have a pretty much good monopoly on the spots for the 3 rarer wood types, I have to pay them, which means I have to spend more time PVMing to get the gold in the first place. So ultimately, it's detracting from my gameplay. If I want to craft a bunch of stuff for my friend, like bloodwood, acorns, whatnot, I can't just go, get the wood, craft, be done with it. I have to go fight, get the gold, pay a vendor, and then get back to my place, and then start making the stuff. And in many cases, I have to go to the bank first to convert it from a commodity deed. So it's taking me now 3 times, 4 times longer to do what should only take me a couple minutes.
That's a very valid argument which you make, and that does give another aspect to this whole argument. What about scripters? Of course, some people would still argue with that, even after their argument's been made. But go ahead, Spyderbite. What's your take on it?
Well, I'll go with the quote. Whenever somebody talks about scripting in our RARC channel, I always immediately pop up with, scripters are not just for breakfast anymore. But also, I go along with, in that same thread you're talking about, I go completely 100% with Learned Hands comment about, in my opinion, they're not ruining my gameplay. They're making it more fun. When there's nobody to fight, picking off scripters on Fell or on Siege is an absolute blast. You can play with them, get screenshots, have fun with them. I believe Pooh from Sonoma even spent an afternoon setting up tables around one while he was scripting. It can make gameplay fun, I think, in my opinion. I don't have crafters, so I may have a little bit of a biased opinion, though, too. So.
All right. Well, my whole argument about that, and I'm actually going to rebuttal on that and everything. My whole take is that even though while it may be fun for some to go out there and kill them, a lot of people say, well, they're not so much affecting your gameplay because you can go out and kill them and stuff. Well, my whole argument about that is, even though you might still be able to kill them in Felucca, that is if they are doing it in Felucca in the first place. My whole argument about that is that we are actually seeing resources and these commodities come into circulation which otherwise wouldn't be there if it weren't for these scripts. So even if you do kill them and you take all their resources in which they got, illegally or whatever, it's still in circulation. Once it's been chopped, once it goes in their backpack, somebody's getting it. Whether it be the scripter or whether it be the person who PK'd the scripter or whatever. I mean, it's still there in circulation. It still has to be consumed in order for it to leave circulation. And that's my biggest gripe about the whole scripting. It's not so much the fact that, you can't kill them or anything. It's the fact that it's creating such a surplus within our economy that it either drives the value down on these commodities, or it creates a, type of mentality amongst players that, well, this person's getting away with it. Why should I not be out there, scripting this away, Because I don't know how many times I've reported scripters and then come back 30 minutes later after they've been dragged away, and then come back 30 minutes later and they're back at the same spot. So what happened to them, I have to wonder. Now, and as a matter of fact, as a week ago or two, I actually spoke on your radio talk show that, I was getting up in the mornings checking some of these locations out where this person was, basically, what's the word, farming dread spiders. And what I saw and what I actually witnessed was a person farming dread spiders on many different shards in the same exact location. And when I made a complaint about this, the person got dragged away by GM, obviously. But, they got dragged back. So I'm kind of curious as to whether or not, whether, the GMs can't take any course of action against them or what. Because, I mean, really, if you wanted to, say, create any scripting method to, to verify whether a person's using a scripting tool or not, drag them to jail, put a dread spider in jail, and see if they don't go after that dread spider while in jail. I guarantee you'll be able to tell without a doubt whether a person's scripting then or not. Because if a person doesn't even realize the change in their environment and yet continues to, fight in jail with a dread spider, then that ought to be a clear indication to anyone, the GMs or anybody else, that, this person's obviously using a scripting tool and to remove this player from the game. But anyways, I've babbled on enough about that. Go ahead, Sakara.
Well, I have kind of mixed feelings about it. Obviously, I'm against scripting, but when people say, oh my god, well, it's affecting my gameplay, most of the time, most of the people that I know script or have scripted, it really doesn't exactly affect me in the sense that most of them are people that script to train. Some people will say, well, if they're scripting to train, then it is affecting me because they are becoming, quickly GM or legendary and this and that, when it should be taking them a lot longer. It's true, but at the same time, if it was still back in the days when, GM anything was extremely rare, then I would say, yeah, this is definitely affecting me because I know what made my wealth back in the days was the fact that I was one of the very few GM Smiths on Atlantic. And so I was really making my money from there, selling armor, repairing armor, and whatnot. But today, it's really not the case anymore. Everyone and their brother has a GM. When somebody is scripting to train, I'm like, whatever. This should still get caught, but it really does not affect me overly. But when it comes to resource gathering, then it's another story. And that part really pisses me off because it's killing the economy. And the people that play the right way, people that don't cheat, get cheated because, you're like, okay, here I am going on for hours and hours trying to lumberjack, and I can only, I've spent the entire day lumberjacking, and I only managed to get maybe 5K of, I don't know, some rare wood or whatever. And, you go next door and you have this one guy that has a vendor with about 20 deeds of 60K frostwood, and you're like, there is no way in hell this person has done this the legit way. because then you look at his other vendors, and every last one of them also have like huge amounts of everything else as well, and you're like, okay, this person is making a hell of a lot of money scripting, and I can hardly, make it, even though I put like every single playtime I have into this, and I can't because I'm not scripting like they are. And this is the part that pisses me off. And I wish there was a way that EA could really nail the people that are scripting without... Well, see, the thing is, there's a number of people that have been banned, supposedly, for using third-party programs. Obviously, I was not in these people's houses, but it's people that I know, and that I'm 99.9% sure that they did not use illegal third-party programs. So when people talk about having a way of detecting what's running on your machine, I personally wouldn't care because I know I'm not doing anything illegal, but to what extent is that accurate? Like, what are the odds that I'm not going to be the next person getting banned for a so-called third-party program when in fact there's really nothing wrong running on my machine? So, I'm a little concerned about that, but I really wish there was a way they could really clean the place out of all the scripters, because it's not only the resource, but it's in PvP as well. I know some people that use something medic, I forget how the program is called exactly, but it heals you. And the minute they don't have that program, but it's not working for whatever reason, these people get dropped left and right. But the minute they have that program working, they're impossible to kill. And you're like, this sucks. These people are winning battles or surviving battles because they're using a third-party program, and I'm playing legit, and I'm getting my butt kicked. So, yeah, I hate scripters.
Yeah, that's the, if somebody asked, well, whenever you get paged on, or whenever the scripter gets paged on, you get dragged off to jail, and the GM asks you a question. You either respond or you don't. If you don't respond, you more than likely get banned or suspended from the game. So, and my response to that comment is that some of these scripts are so complex and well scripted that whenever a GM appears or anything of that nature, it either responds for them to the question that's being asked, or it notifies the scripter that a GM has appeared to respond to the question or whatever. And so for it to notify the scripter, whoever's using this, that a GM's appeared or something, it kind of defeats the whole purpose of the GM approaching them and asking a question. So, and that's why proposed appeared and asked him a question. Well, then he's going to get notified that GM has appeared, and he's going to respond to the GM's question, naturally, right? Because he's got such a complex script running. Now, the thing is with that and everything is that, if a GM didn't appear and just simply dragged him to jail and then spawned a dread spider, which is what he was farming at the time, then you have the you can tell whether or not the person's actually scripting. Because if the person's scripting, it doesn't get notified of a GM, there's nothing to notify him that anything's changed. So he's going to the script is naturally going to attack that dread spider and attempt to kill it. Or maybe the GM can appear as a dread spider himself and see if he comes under attack or not. I mean, these are all, alternative solutions rather than going up to the player and just, saying, are you there? Or something of that nature. So, with that said and everything, I think there needs to be alternative methods on how to approach this problem in the meantime until we can figure out some other way of combating this problem. I was going to say something else, but my mind's just kind of blanked. I'm seeing the IRC over here. I'm reading y'all's comments, by the way. So, with that said, go ahead, Deadeye.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. How does scripting affect my gameplay? How it affects mine is, once upon a time, I mined for years and I sold ingots and did very, very, very well. But there's not much in that business anymore because there's been an abundance of resources. in the game, especially for example ingots, and whether it doesn't matter whether the scripter's going out here and obtaining the resources and selling it on eBay, or whether he's selling it in the game. Either way, if he's selling it on eBay, people are going out there to eBay and buying their resources and not buying them from somebody like me in the game, or consequently they're producing an overabundance of the resources in the game and driving the prices down. Either way, I come up with the short end of the stick, so consequently I'm not in that business anymore. Now, with the advent of Monday's Legacy, we have all the stuff and all the groovy markets that could come about because you have all the new wood and the frostwood and the bloodwood and heartwood and all that kind of stuff. But I've been sitting around on Sonoma watching the prices of these go steadily down. It has to be due to scripting because of overabundance of the resources. Same thing with the gems for Mondane's Legacy. I was considering going into that business, and I've changed my mind about that because the prices have gone down. It's not worth the effort. I'm merely stockpiling them for, frankly, for the use of me and my associates. So, if you are a business person in the game, this affects you very, very directly. Two, now, in terms of scripting to guild skill gain, this doesn't affect me personally as much because I'm not into PvP. If a guy is as good as I am or has the skills and can go out here and do PVM as well, okay, fine and dandy. But when you're in the deal, when your gameplay is in the case with Sakara and her people, when you're out here doing PVM, well, then that affects you directly because there's more people with high-level skills out there, and that's going to affect your gameplay completely. And so, yeah, it has an effect on the game. Now, with regards to what you were saying, Viceroy, about you go out here, you report the scripter, and the GM comes out there, and he drags him off and everything, and the next thing he knows, he's back. Obviously, the GMs are taking them off, turning around, chewing them out or something, and turning them loose. Now, if they want to put a stop to it, or at least slow it down to a degree, they would have to adopt a zero tolerance. You get caught scripting, they're going to ban you. But on the same token, the banned person is no longer paying his monthly fee to play UO. Well, consequently, how many people are in this game? How many people are playing UO simply because they can come in here and mine resources, for example, and then go out and sell them on the trade boards and stuff like that? So, the question is whether EA would do that, because the minute they ban somebody, well then, hey, there's some subscription fees that are no longer coming in. So, yeah, it affects everything. But as to whether EA is going to take a strong stance on it, I don't know, because about the time you ban somebody, then, hey, you're not going to get any more money from them.
Yeah, very, very good point and everything. Because, in a lot of ways, it's kind of hard for EA to, take their subscriber base and go after these people, because, after all, these people are paying, their wages, so to speak. So, question is whether or not do we want to see a game that's free of cheaters, for the sake of the integrity of the game, or do we want to keep and preserve EA's source of revenues and stuff like that? And another problem with this whole dread spider farming, which I've noticed and everything, it's not so much the fact they're farming dread spiders and everything. It's the rate in which these dread spiders respawn. I mean, as soon as one dread spider is killed, another dread spider respawns instantly. And when you got people going around with dread spider slaying or whatever, and dread spider protection talismans and stuff like that, I just wish I could put a picture up for you guys to visualize and see and witness, or a little video clip or something, because then you could understand the severity of the situation. Because whenever I'm sitting there watching dread spider after dread spider respawn without any sort of delay, almost instantly, one after another, after one's been slain, another one respawns in its place. I mean, there's not even a chance of the dread spider taking out this scripter or anything. There's not even a chance for the dread spider winning, because the dread spider's already lost. And that's the problem which I'm seeing with this scripting problem. We're in this little area, which is a problem of scripting is occurring on all shards. And the thing is, it's not just happening on one shard, it's happening on multiple shards. And my whole guess is that it must be a big old farming organization out there somewhere that's doing all this. Or a lot of people just know about this. One of the two. It has to be. And, this is only one of many locations in which have come to my knowledge or come to my attention. And there's no telling how many other locations are similar to the way the Dread Spider works and everything. So can you just imagine all this gold flowing in on a regular basis when a person is not even at their computer, and how much can be generated in one day's time? Forget about a month, and then you take a year. I mean, it needs to be addressed. And now the next big question I'm going to ask here in a little bit, after I give everybody a chance to respond and everything, I'm going to ask you guys whether or not you guys think something ought to be done similar to what Blizzard has done with their game of World of Warcraft. Do you think we ought to implement something like the Warden, a program which basically takes note and observes what processes are running on your computer to make sure you ain't running any illegal programs or anything of that nature on your computer? So with that said, go ahead, AzRek.
Well, I'm in the IRC channel right now. We're discussing Warden that was used by Blizzard to scan running processes in the hard drive for those wonderful unattended macroing apps that WoW uses. Now, I'm not saying I'm for spyware. I can't stand it. I have enough software on my computer that bogs it down as it is that I want to run. And I'm not saying that we would ideally, in an ideal world, we wouldn't need a program that does this, but I would love if EA and the UO team would get their butts in gear and write a program that runs either in tandem with UO or as part of the actual client that regularly scans system memory, which would make it almost a rootkit, and check for any unattended macroing programs. I would love it. I mean, in WoW, I've rarely seen a scripter go for more than half an hour before getting his account banned. Not, oh, here's a 24-hour, here's a 72-hour. No, banned. Goodbye. Don't come back. I hope the door hits you right in the tailbone and breaks it. I would love to see that, because I'm sick of the scripters. I'll honestly put up with a little EA spyware to get rid of them. And we're going through that discussion now in IRC, so if anyone wants to jump in and watch it. But, I mean, I really cannot stand the fact that I have to spend 75% of my time farming gold just to get the resources I want to make a couple cute little decorations for my real-life fiance's house in game. So I'm all for a little bit of EA-developed spyware to fix it.
Yeah. Well, another thing I think that people need to realize and understand and everything is that not only are we seeing scripters go out there and farm resources and everything, a lot of people can't understand why is the farming of resources such a big deal. And here's why. The resources is just as good as gold. I mean, because you take let's say one piece of wood that you have somebody out there farming, with a script or something, it's good as gold. I mean, we're talking about maybe 8 pieces of gold or something of that nature, or somewhere around that amount, for one piece of wood. Yeah, can you imagine that on, I think that's what you get for one, you get 2 pieces of boards for 1 log, if I'm not mistaken, or something like that. And so can you imagine, 1 log, equivalent to 2 pieces of boards, which is worth, maybe 16 gold, and that's per log. And so you might have some, and then you usually get batches of 10 or something like that, if I'm not mistaken, whenever you cut wood. So you get 10 logs for every cut, and then so 10 times 16, that's 160 gold per successful chop of wood, and then you just convert that into boards, and that's 160 gold. Now that's just 1 chop that we're talking about. Now, you take that and multiply that by, let's say, a few thousands and everything. That gets to add up. And let's just say this person's running it all day long, for 16 hours while he's at work or while he's spending time with the kids or he or she, for that matter. So just think about it. Okay, it's in Felucca, and that's a very good point. In Felucca, it's 20 logs for each chop. So, you can just take that number, and that makes it easily 320 gold per successful chop of wood. For every time you get logs put in your backpack, it's 20 logs, which is equivalent to 320 gold. Now, you can just imagine somebody running that just for 16 hours, what that would be. That would actually be probably a couple of million. You know, if that guy turns around and sells them on either TradeSpot or some other trade site out there. So you can only imagine what that would be equivalent to. That's my biggest gripe in terms of how does it affect the economy. Go ahead, Spyderbite.
Okay. I think AzRek touched on half of my point. But yeah, the solution to the scripters is going to have to be either server side or client side, one or the other, or a combination of both. It's never going to go away with the current system of the human interaction with the GMs. The reason I say that is I saw a picture where Richard Garriott was sitting with back in the early days with the GMs on the Shard at a party, and there were like 13 of them. Well, there's probably more now. My guess, and Draconi could probably give me a better answer than I could, but I'm going to guess maybe 25 GMs spread out amongst the Shard, perhaps more. In any case, the scripters are out there in such numbers that they're never going to get tracked down. I mean, it's not against the law unless you get caught. And with such a low police force, so to speak, there's no way these GMs can come in, sit there for 5 minutes, say hello over and over and over again, then finally drag them off to jail and have it be an efficient system. There's going to have to be something done. And there's also the room for error as far as who is really unattended scripting and who's just taking a potty break. I mean, in the last year alone, I've been pulled into jail 3 times while working lock-picking or something stupid, and somebody decided to page on me. And I just happened to get entranced in the movie I was watching over my shoulder while I was hitting the F2 key in UO Assist. Granted, I was able to come back real quick and say, okay, I'm good. And I never got banned, but still, you never know. But yeah, it's going to have to be server-side or client-based in order for that to be efficient and actually work.
Yeah, and I don't know how many guys was paying attention to the interview in which we had with Mr. Tact on September the 4th, but he did make reference to something of that nature, of maybe implementing something like similar to Punk Buster is what he called it and everything. And for some of you guys out there who are familiar with games like Soldier of Fortune 2 and stuff like that, you know that game runs like Punk Buster and stuff like that. So go ahead, Sakara.
No, it's fine. Actually, my problem there was when you guys were talking about slowing down the spawn rate of the dread spiders and whatnot, and it's like I'm just against any of the changes that they make to catch the scripters that just end up nerfing the honest player, and unfortunately, there's been so much of that. It's like how many of us are really aggravated about the whole you cannot see this, message you're getting every time you're trying to pick up something or drop something, or you're trying to grab something from your chest. You open a chest, you try to grab something from it, and even though the chest is open, you are able to open every single bag in that chest. You can't pick up anything from it because you're like one tile too far. And you move one tile and it closes everything. You're like, darn it, kind of stuff. It's just so many things that they change to basically, prevent exploiters and scripters. But in the end, it really ends up griefing a lot more of the players than anything else. And I was just thinking about how it's really annoying because for me, I work sacrifice, killing the ice fiends. And as soon as I kill one, within 2-3 seconds, another one spawns. Now, I would be pretty pissed if, I'm trying to work sacrifice, and now it's going to take me twice as long because in order to prevent people that might be scripting, they put a really long timer between each spawn. And I would be like, it's like how many more nerfs are we supposed to take just so that they can get rid of scripters? I just think at one point they need to reach a balance where they are busting people, but at the same time they're not just aggravating players like the legit players anymore than we've already been.
Yeah. Well, I can only hope that maybe one day EA will, address it somehow with their cleverness. I'm sure Mr. Tack, being as clever as he is and everything, I have, so much faith in his ability to be able to address some of these issues because, just look at the amount of work he's put into Ultima Online so far. I have a great deal of faith that he is very sincere when he says he's going to fix a lot of these issues. However, the question is when, and I'm not so much sure if that's really his call as to when it will happen. I think that's more lies in the hands of the producer. But, I would hope that maybe, Electronic Arts will give him the time and resources which he needs to basically correct these major game pressing issues in Ultima Online. Go ahead, Sakara.
I'm thinking that it may not just be a question of whether or not he's got the go-ahead, but it's also a question of do they have the solution, and do they have a solution that is going to work long-term and not create more problems down the road. Because obviously this is a very complex program, very complex game. You change one thing and there's so many other things tied to it that, God only knows how they will react to whatever change you make. So I guess it really depends how much time they will give him and, the team working on these problems versus working on, other stuff in the game or even new expansion. Because, we've been getting one almost once a year for the past few years. So do we have, another one in the works? And how much is that gonna, take them away rather from fixing these problems? What is the priority on busting scripters versus fixing other stuff?
Yep. And there's something actually going on in the IRC chat here. In case you guys want to come over here and join us in the IRC chat, you can go over here to the Statics IRC server and go into the # UORadio channel, and you'll be right in there where we're all at. And we got about 37 people here in the IRC chat as of right now. So come on over, join us over here if you would like to add to the discussion or whatever, or get some of your discussions or comments or whatever read out on the air possibly. So come on over and join us if you'd like to make any comments with regard to what we're talking about. Sakara, did you have anything else that you wanted to add to that?
No, sorry, I'm just being a noob.
No problem. Actually, we're going to go back to something else, which we're going to move away from this topic because we've already wasted about 30 minutes on that. I do hope that we'll see you address eventually. But going back to something we was talking about a little bit earlier, Balhae, which is a Korean shard and everything. As you guys have probably noticed, that Balhae has a Christmas theme to it at the West Britain Bank over on their shard and everything. And I'm kind of curious as to whether or not you guys would like to see something like this on an American shard or European shard, and why do you guys think we don't already have that? I'm really curious as to what you guys think about that. Go ahead, Deadeye.
Yeah, well, I think it'd be great since I'm one of those people that actually that celebrates Christmas and everything. But it's gotten so popular here in the States to, if you promote one thing that's basically a religious holiday, if you promote one holiday, you're somehow sliding or not recognizing other religions, other holidays, so, the thing where it's not politically correct anymore. I think we'd have some problems with it here because somebody's bound to pop up and say something, but I think it'd be a great idea,
Yeah, most definitely. Go ahead, Spyderbite.
I was pretty much going to mirror what Deadeye said. While everybody loves the Christmas gifts we get from EA and stuff like that, they tend to stay PC. Some people are so eager to jump onto the bitch and whine bandwagon, whether or not it really affects them or not, and and draw in whether it's a religious or a cultural thing into it. You could have the Jewish people could be complaining because they didn't get stuff when Hanukkah started from EA. Well, why is there a Christmas tree on top of the West Britain Bank instead of, a menorah or whatever? I just see UO Hall Forum bloating 4 times what it was if we started theming the whole shard around Christmas time. But that's my opinion. I think we should leave it the way it is.
And you know what? And that actually brings up a point and everything. Who's to say that it is actually a Christmas tree? To my knowledge, it didn't actually look like a Christmas tree. It was just a tree that was decorated. Was it a cedar tree that was decorated with? So I guess on a technicality we can probably get away with it, on grounds of technicality in terms of legal aspects. But I'm kind of curious as to what's really holding EA back from giving us a Christmas themed shard or something similar to that of Balhay. And I'm actually kind of curious, and I'll have to speak with somebody, maybe a player from the Korean shard or something like that. Because I'm really curious as to why we see over on the Asian shards and not on the on the Western shards. So I'm kind of curious as to what exactly is holding EA back from giving us that. Is it public relations that they're scared about, or is it legalities, or what? I mean, I want to know what it is that's keeping EA really restricted in that fashion. So go ahead, Deadeye.
Oh, yeah. Well, you mentioned Christmas trees, and there's something I want to mention here, and I'm hoping that some of the people from EA are listening. There's one thing, since I live in Phil, that I wish they'd really fix. When you got your Christmas tree deed and you go to put it up and you try to use the classic view in Felucca, all the leaves are not on the trees in Felucca, and when you use the classic view, you come up with a classic Christmas tree with no needles on it. And that's really a drag, because I like the classic view better. And when you use the modern view inside your house, it's a tall, spindly thing, looks like a poplar tree, and the top of it pokes up above the floor above you, and so it's a real pain. I wish they'd fix that, to where our classic Christmas tree has needles on it. I know all the rest of the trees in Fell don't have any leaves on it, but dadgummit, leave them on the Christmas tree.
Yeah, and hopefully, that you mentioned that and everything, how it pokes through your little floor tiles or whatever, whenever you have, one of them modern trees below or whatever, it pokes through your little floor tiles. And I'm actually kind of hoping that the Grim Army is out there listening to this and everything, and hopefully we might see that little trimmed off or whatever, so it don't poke through the, my second floor or a third floor or whatever, because I really do not like using the modern tree because it pokes through the floors of my house. And also, speaking of that and everything, it does, well, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. So before I go getting into that, I'm going to go ahead and give AzRek a chance to say whatever he wants. Go ahead, AzRek.
Well, when you were discussing the whole Christmas decoration of Balhay and the other, the non-U.S. shards, I should say, they actually have a volunteer program in place, unlike the U.S. servers. Draconi pointed that out in the IRC channel. So if anyone's listening, and I think Tesseract is up on this one, wanted to get like a volunteer or a SEER program going again for the U.S. servers. If anyone wants to post their support, hey, hit EA up on their lines or post in Stratix, because we've seen what they can do on the other shards, and I was almost tempted to transfer just because I like the Christmas deco.
All right, and and that I think I might have gotten my answer, but I'm not sure if this is maybe the official. It's probably not the official, so I'm not going to take it at face value or whatever. But one possibility as to why we probably don't see on the Western shards or whatever, in terms of Christmas themes and stuff like that, is because we don't have any volunteers that did it to do it. And on the Asian shards, they have volunteers because they do have the volunteer program, in case you guys are unaware. So in the Asian, community and everything, they actually have volunteers that go out and put up these Christmas decorations and stuff like that. And they're a lot more able to do things like that. And so maybe if we do pressure EA to maybe give us volunteers or something like that, maybe next year or the year after that, we'll see volunteers to put up Christmas decorations around the West Bank of Britain as well. So, something to keep in mind. Let EA know that you're supportive of volunteers and stuff like that. Keep on them about it, because I guarantee you, if you keep on about it, pressure them about it, they'll eventually hear you and give you what you want. So go ahead, Sakara.
Well, I just wanted to mention about the volunteer programs. Even if they were to bring the counselors would not take care of creating a theme chart for us. They would have to bring back the seers as well, because the seers were the ones that were in charge of all that cool questing stuff and different stuff. So bring back the volunteers definitely, but please bring back the seers.
Yeah, definitely. If we're going to have the EM events, I'm actually kind of curious now that you say it. I'm kind of wondering what kind of role would the event moderators have in comparison to the seers. So let's just say if they were to bring back the seers, what would happen to the event moderators? So would they just disappear, or would they just assume the role of seers now? I'm kind of confused about that, because if they were, of course, to bring that back, seers and the counselors, then what would happen to the event moderators? Would they still be around, or would they, become the seers, or what? That's something I've always been kind of curious about. Sakara, did you want to add on something about it?
Yeah, I think I've been thinking about it quite a bit, actually, because I know that I am dying to be a seer. I always wanted to be a seer. I love organizing events and stuff like that. But I have a feeling that if we were to have the seers back, I don't see why the EMs would have to go anywhere. The seers would still be pretty much independent in what they organize. They probably would be a lot more smaller scale events. But I would rather see the EMs, still being, still being there, but organizing a lot more larger scale events. Events more like the scenarios that we once had, instead of the mini events. Because really, the small events that the EMs have been organizing, to me, is more something that seers should be organizing, and the EMs should be going for the big stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, I totally agree. Go ahead, Spyderbite.
That was my point. And Samara, if you're listening but not paying attention to IRC, jump in. I think this is a great point for you to chime in and give your opinion. I think you are the only contracted EA person here that could probably give an idea of what was behind the SEERS and the volunteer programs in the U.S. going defunct, because, they were talking about, I think there was something about them not working, or working but not getting compensated, and thus EA just dropped it, because, for legality reasons. And I think if they came up with a contract like they do with the EMs, it'd be a different story, because then they could put in the contract, you understand you're not being paid for this, don't ask for payment later on, and then we could have the program back, because everybody clicks I agree on everything that they download, sign up for, or buy. But that was my 2 cents.
Yeah, well, I don't think it's so much the fact that they understand that they wouldn't be compensated, but I also think it has something to do with the fact that EA is a for-profit organization, and that since they're a for-profit organization, they cannot accept any volunteers to work for free. So I think that's the legality issue as of right now, where it lies and everything. I don't even think, even if they were put in that little clause that, they're under the understanding that they will not be compensated or anything of that nature, that, it still wouldn't pass the legal department and everything. But, something else to, and I actually kind of lost my thought here for a minute, but as far as Samara and everything, I don't really think she could come in here or even talk about those kind of things, because of the simple fact that I think they, I think anybody at EA, in order for them to come on here or even discuss any of those issues, would have to have authorization from somebody at Electronic Arts. So, it's just one of those. That seems to be a really big policy at EA. In order to officially speak on behalf of EA in any form or fashion in the official capacity, or even answer questions in the official capacity, you would have to have some kind of authorization, to my knowledge. So go ahead, it's Spyderbite.
Oh, I just wanted to agree with you and apologize. I completely forgot. Yeah, EA employees do have to request permission before they're allowed to go out and talk about the game and stuff like that. I completely forgot about it. She's so great about talking with us casually that you tend to lose sight of that. So my apologies on that part.
Yep. And something else to keep in mind and everything is that, for example, because I've actually asked, the EMs who play on our shards regularly and do all these wonderful events for us, I asked them if they could maybe come over on your radio, and they was like, well, you need to go talk to our superiors and see if they'll let, allow us to come on your radio for an interview and stuff like that. I personally didn't think it would be that big of a deal, but apparently they have to go through their chain of command to get any authorization to even speak about the game. So, so EA, if you want to send any of the EMs over for an interview or anything of that nature, send them over. We're more than glad to get them over here and talk about, their role within the event moderator program and stuff like that. Maybe tell us a little bit about it or whatever. We're always open to, always open to interviews. So if you guys, anybody at EA that works on Ultima Online, if you're interested in coming over on your radio for an interview, please give us a little shout. We won't turn you away. So with that said, we're going to actually move along to our next topic here and everything. We're going to actually talk about something that recently occurred and everything. As some of you guys probably know and everything, Sunsword recently announced his departure from Electronic Arts. And I'm sure some of you guys out there have been reading the U-Haul forums about that and everything, and you just saw how much people were being rude to the guy. I mean, come on. I mean, some people were just downright rude. I mean, they was like, well, good. It's a good thing that he's gone. He brought his Samurai Empire. He brought his Ages of Shadow. He's the one to blame for all this. Yada, yada, yada. Well, guys, I think some of you guys are forgetting that he wasn't really ever in charge of that development of some of these projects and stuff like that, because, he was actually in other capacities within Electronic Arts for a long time. Even to this day, people still think he's the producer for Ultima Online. No, he's no longer the producer. He hasn't been the producer for Ultima Online for some time now. He's actually been, I think it's been a few months since he's last been producer for Ultima Online in name or title. But he hasn't even really worked on Ultima Online for quite a while now. He's actually been working in the, to my understanding, in the online games department, basically managing all of EA's online games overall. So, I mean, he had gotten a promotion or something to my knowledge, and he did that for about a year or so, and then now he's had enough of it, I guess, and he wants to move on to bigger and better things. And now he's supposedly moving on to a game called Rising Force Online. Now, that's not been confirmed yet or anything of that nature. It is speculated that he is going to go to Rising Force Online. Now, a lot of people are like, well, don't be, rude, and, be constructive. If you got anything bad to say, do it in a constructive manner. Well, my personal feelings about Sunsword, personally, I and this has always kind of bothered me, is the fact that, he, was with Ultima Online somewhere towards, I think, the beginning of Trimble or something like that, and then he went to work for Sony for a little while, and then he came back to Electronic Arts. That's probably the only real problem I ever had with Sunsword. I didn't like the fact that he went and worked for another company and then came back, and now he's leaving again. It's kind of like a wishy-washy. That's my whole take about Sunsword. But other than that, Sunsword's a great guy. He's done many great things for Ultima Online. I mean, he's brought in about player. If I'm not mistaken, I would almost bet you anything he was one of the guys who pushed for player races. And if it wasn't for him, I don't think we would be seeing player races being gradually added into the game. I don't think we would see elves in the game, even though some of you guys may not like the elves in the game. I personally didn't want elves but I personally wanted to see something like gargoyles or something of that nature introduced into the game. But, if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't even see anything like that in Ultima Online today. So, we got to give credit to Sunsword for a lot of things in which were, wasn't exactly, credited to him or stuff like that. So he deserves a lot of recognition in some regards. So I know a lot of things that he had hoped for didn't come to light and stuff like that, and so there's some bad feelings about that. But you know how EA corporate is, or any corporation for that matter. You might suggest something, or you might even throw an idea out there that something might happen, and if it doesn't happen, everybody's mad at you. So it's a tough place to be in, and any corporations are hard places to work at. There's a lot of bureaucracy that goes on in those kind of places, and I think that's where a lot of players of Ultima Online fail to realize that it's not so much the producer who's holding the game back or anything of that nature. It's the corporate, so that's just how corporate America works. So even though you might want something as a producer, you don't always get it. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Spyderbite. I think he was the one who chimed in first.
I was actually going to, kind of back what you said. Yeah, I read that when that first went up. I mean, even before it did. Poor Sunsword. I was watching him just get grilled, and it was only 12 posts deep, and it was already, not a single nice thing to say. And yeah, I felt bad for the guy. Yeah, a lot of people who've never worked in a corporate environment don't realize that. Yeah, the project manager typically, takes the blame for stuff. But in reality, what happens in these environments is that they're they put the ideas on the table. A lot of these ideas come from the players. They come from brainstorming teams, whatever. And eventually they go into production, but before they go into production, they have to go before, a committee of people who have to approve this stuff. They just can't wake up one morning and go, I got a great idea for PvP. I'm going to put mods on every single item in the game, and I think I'm going to split the whole shard up into 2 facets, and I think I should be done by lunch, and then we'll just see, and then I'll take the blame, when I quit. It doesn't work like that. People have to. It goes through several meetings and that sort of thing. There is no one person decides what to do, goes off and programs it on their own. So, him taking the brunt of that, I think he saw it coming, because a lot of people look at it in a very focused way as pointing a finger, and they need somebody to focus their anger for the last how many ever years, 3, 4, 5 years it's been. That was just my opinion.
Yeah, and I have to give Sunsword a lot of credit, because in the past he's actually sat down with multiple interviews with a guy known as Fear from Battle Vortex, who also conducted interviews for a while back at prior to I think 2000 and before, so Fear and Sunsword, I think you used to see Electronic Arts do a lot more interviews with the Ultima Online community in that regards and stuff like that. I'm kind of hoping with UORadio we might be able to somehow revive that within the community and stuff like that. It's slowly getting that direction and stuff like that by the looks of things. However, there's a lot of things that need to be done in Ultima Online. Also, great things. I think Sunsword is a great guy. Other than that, that's all I can really say. I don't know too much about Sunsword. I haven't really had too much interaction with the guy myself personally, so I can't really say too much about the guy myself personally. But to me, from what I can tell, what I've seen, he seems to be a really great guy who was very passionate about the game. So with that said, go ahead, Sakura.
Well, it's pretty much the same here. I can't say that I remember all that much about Sunsword, except that I liked him when he was active with Ultima Online. And but the impression I got when people started flaming him after he left was a lot of sour grapes to a certain extent, and a lot of people seemed to be more upset that they had felt abandoned. Because when he left, there really was no big announcement about it. He seemed to have just, faded into the shadows. He just left without really saying, all right, guys, I'm really, really sorry. I'm going to be missing you and this and that, but, for whatever reason, I'm going to be moving on to a different project. It's just he just vanished, he just left and he didn't care about the people and just walked. I'm sure that was not the case, but that's, how people are. They're like kids, you always have to reassure them that you're there, that you care, and that you, blah, blah, blah. And so a lot of people just seem to be really upset about that he left without saying anything, really. That's why so many people still think that he was still the producer. And so now when he's leaving the game, and they're like, well, he didn't care enough about us to tell us that he was no longer going to be working on UO. Why should we care now that he's leaving the game? You didn't care about us, then we don't care about you, screw you, kind of thing. So I think it's a bit of a, childish attitude that we feel abandoned. And then there's the other people that are really upset about, well, I wanted this change made in the game, and that didn't happen. Instead, we got this that I'm really not happy about, and they need a scapegoat. They need somebody to put it on, and he's the next guy leaving, so they're just going to put it on him, and everything was his fault, and blah, blah, blah. There's a number of developers that have left that have been fairly upset about some of the things that they brought in the game that I thought they really should not have brought in. But I think people need to keep in mind that these guys, they try their best to make the game basically make it the best game that they possibly can. And, as I had posted on the forums, they make a livelihood out of this. So they're not going to shoot themselves in the foot. They're not going to deliberately wreck the game. I mean, that's their job. And I'm sure they take a lot of pride into what they're trying to do. Now, they're going to make decisions that people are not going to be pleased with. Some decisions that are not going to be popular decisions, but they're just trying as best as they can. And, flaming them because you didn't like the way they try to change things really isn't going to do anything. It's like, talk to them. I think they've proven that they are listening to us. They probably don't always do it the way we would like them to do it, but they're trying. So, I don't know. I just think the flaming was a little lame.
Yeah, and I guess that's where I was coming from with my, little bad feelings about Sunsword, is that you made a very good point there and everything. I guess I didn't like so much the fact that, he kind of got the promotion and didn't tell anybody about it. And then all of a sudden we got this new producer that, really, well, I don't know. It was just it was like secrecy. Why the secrecy? Why the changing of the guards and no, word about it? I mean, I guess that's, first of all, him, having gone over to Sony and then back, really didn't sit too well with me in the beginning. And then, the changing of the guards, and then no word about that officially. No farewell or no announcement saying that he was getting promoted, moving on to some other project within Electronic Arts or anything of that nature. That didn't sit too well with me. I mean, I guess that's where I have my biggest beef with Sunsword, other than the fact, I guess that's the only complaint I can really give. And I think that's where a lot of players felt somewhat abandoned, that the fact that he never once said goodbye, officially on the static boards, or he didn't announce that he was getting a promotion or anything of that nature. It was kind of like it was up to the players to find out for themselves. And, that's what didn't really sit too well with me. But he's gone now. We can only hope for, I don't know how to put it, but I guess we can only hope for bigger and better things, with time to come. I wish him the best of wherever he goes. I truly mean that whenever I say it. I still think he's a great guy, even though I didn't agree with the way he left or got promoted without saying anything. But I guess at the end of the day, it's really up to him how he wants to go about it. So with that said, Deadeye, go ahead.
Well, when somebody said a while ago they kind of felt sorry for the guy. Well, in most of the probably half of the years I played UO, I just simply came in and got into and played with the game and ran with my associates. I wasn't out here on the forums all day and chasing after what the development team was doing and all that kind of stuff. But I remember in the early days, reading some stuff about Sun Sword and everything. And back then he was like a god. Hey, yeah, it was great. People almost worshipped him. And then I remember getting down the road after some things came along people didn't like, and all of a sudden it was dirty, rotten, brackish, frat, get a rope, let's burn him, let's stone him, and all this kind of stuff. And I'm thinking, my God, And so when he had a job change back then, when you're talking about he went off to Sony and then later came back, he got so unpopular. It looked like to me he took a back seat because he had to lay low. I mean, Jesus Christ, and it kind of surprised me the other day when he did that formal announcement thing out there, because ever since all that happened, he hadn't been the most popular guy out there. But the whole thing reminded me, looking at him, how everybody looked at him in the early days, as opposed to what happened down the road. It reminds me of a phrase, a quote from that movie Independence Day, when the president was talking about his ratings falling over breakfast one morning. He said, "Isn't it amazing how quickly people would turn on you?"
Very good point. But yeah, go ahead, Scare.
Well, one thing I will say, a lot of people are like, oh my God, he just kind of left and, you're not happy that he went somewhere else and then came back. Well, most of us at one point or another had this great job and something more interesting showed up. Are you going to advertise this to the whole world that, hey, I might be getting this really good opportunity, or are you just going to be quiet until, you have something solid? Because if something came up to you and then you go and open your mouth and let everyone know, then maybe your boss is going to go like, he's thinking about jumping ship. So, if that does not happen, if in the end it doesn't go through, then you just shut yourself in the foot, because then your boss is going to remember that at one point you were thinking about jumping ship. So you would kind of keep quiet about it. And so I can't really blame him for the way he handled that. Myself, I just changed jobs recently, and my boss didn't know about it until my new contract was signed. They weren't happy, but hey. At one point, you have to do what is best for you. And so now him leaving, there is a couple of things, though. People are saying, okay, he left again, he abandoned us again and this and that, and, but he did say that it was bittersweet. So to me, that tells me that maybe he didn't really want to leave. That maybe, yeah, he's got something really cool that he's going to be working on now, but maybe he didn't really want to leave. So I don't know to what extent this is something he wanted or something he had to, or maybe a mix of both.
Yeah, it sounded to me like a lot that he didn't really like being away from his family whenever he made the farewell post on sunsword.com. And that's where he made his farewell post. He didn't make it on Stratix or anything like that. The only reason he ended up on Stratix was because somebody that was a Stratix news reporter decided that was newsworthy to be up on Stratix and stuff like that. But, as far as him coming out officially and saying himself, hey, look, I'm leaving EA or anything like that, that didn't happen on Stratix. That happened up on his blog site. I think that's what it is, which was sunsword.com. So, if you want to check it out, you can see what's going on with his life. If you want to keep up with him as he, progresses through the industry and stuff like that. And a very good point that somebody here in IRC made about, people that work at Electronic Arts. What a lot of people fail to understand is that a lot of people in this industry don't stay at one job too long. They move around a lot in this job because they want to experience new things, see things, on the other side and stuff like that. Because, have you ever heard the saying, the grass is always greener on the other side? And then you get over there and sometimes you're like, well, this sucks. And, it wasn't anything like I wanted it, I thought it would be. So, let's go back to where we were and until we can find something else that's better. So, I guess that, is the mentality of the developers in the corporate world in this industry and stuff like that, because you just have to be very mindful of that fact, because it does, it's a very, I guess, a volatile work environment, considering the fact that you're always going from one place to another, you're always working on something else. It's, I would imagine, very stressing at times. So I guess, especially working for Electronic Arts, I would imagine. So, nothing against Electronic Arts overall, but I would have to say it's probably very stressful. So with that said, go ahead, Deadeye.
Yeah, one other thing I wanted to add to my comments about the Sunsword leaving is that, and one of the other things is when things happen in UO, or a change is made, or decisions are made, we'll all sit around and speculate, about whose fault it was, or who made the decision, or anything else like that. And I got to point out to you, it is complete speculation. EA keeps their security tight. We don't have a clue as to what goes on, or the decision-making process. We pick up bits and pieces of information here. It reminds me of us setting off the shores of Soviet Russia, listening on submarines, trying to decode this and decode that. We don't have any idea what's going on. And at some point, I've seen many, many times, the loudest voice comes up and turns around, hey, it's so-and-so's fault. And everybody gets in, yeah, it's so-and-so's fault. Get a rope, It reminds me of a vigilante crowd. So, let's point out, people, all the stuff we sit around and think we know about EA and what the decision-making process in EA, we don't know nothing, because they don't tell us nothing. They ain't talking.
Yeah, well, here's something else to keep in mind, and this is something I've read, and I don't know whether it's true or not, so don't accept this as fact or whatever, but, to my knowledge, what I've heard is that, the people at Electronic Arts are working on a salary, first of all. That's something to keep in mind. Second of all, these people will work up towards 60 to 80 hours a week. So, I mean, if you're somebody like Sunsword who's got about 2 or 3 kids, I can't remember how many kids he's got now, but, if you're somebody who's got a bunch of kids, a wife, and all that good stuff, you probably don't want to be working 60 hours a week or whatever. So you probably want to go to a place where you're going to be working far less hours, more pay, and in this case, Sunsword was doing a lot of traveling at the time as well for Electronic Arts, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm sure he wants to be at home with the family a lot more, with his kids, his new addition to the family and all that, which I remember a little while back, if I'm not mistaken, that he had another kid recently. So, I mean, if you're a family man, like Sunsword is, you probably don't want to be everywhere. You probably want to be either have your family come with you to places, or you want to be there with your family more. I mean, that's totally understandable in an industry where you have to spend about 60 to 80 hours a week. And, just because you put in more hours one week or whatever doesn't mean you're going to get paid more at the end of the day. No. Because when you're working on salary, that's all you're getting. So, yeah, I think that's one reason a lot of people move around a lot, is for better opportunities, as they say. And so, with that said, I think I've run that into the ground. But I hope I made a point. So, just keep that in mind. And next time you are talking with a developer or interacting with a developer, they put a lot of hours into these games. And they get very little in return, I would imagine, sometimes, or so it seems. But with that said, we're going to move on, and let's see what our next topic is here. Let's see, what are your thoughts on quests being named after virtues and yet having no tie-ins with the virtue system? I've read here on the U-Haul boards that there is a quest named after a virtue or something like that. And what the problem is that one of the players is griping about is that supposedly this quest is named after a virtue, and this guy went and completed this quest and everything. He didn't get no virtue points or anything of that nature, yet the quest is named after a virtue. Do you think it's appropriate to have a quest named after a virtue if it doesn't have any interaction with the quest system or anything like that, or should I say the virtue system? Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm probably getting it all mixed up. But do you think a quest should be named after a virtue if it has no interaction with the virtue system? What I mean by that is no points, for completing the quest or anything of that nature. Let's see, do we have any comments here? Go ahead, Deadeye.
No, I don't, because it's misleading to the players.
Oh, misleading. All right. Well, let's see. Go ahead. Did you want to add something else to that, or was you pretty much done with that?
If people get into it and go through it thinking they're going to get something and they're working on the virtues and they don't get anything out of it, and I mean, just like you say, people get into it thinking they're going to score some virtue points or compassion points or whatever the heck it is, and if it's not there, it's misleading,
Yeah, I have to agree. You're a little quiet, though, also. You might want to turn that mic up. But go ahead, AzRek.
Yeah, I'm going to have to say that I don't think those quest titles should in any way reflect any of the virtues that they're not going to contribute. Like any quest for honor, compassion, whatnot. Because, as Deadeye said, it is misleading the player. Especially with honor, because all those Bushido freaks out there. And I better stop before I gripe about archers and Bushido, But, it is misleading.
Yeah, and just in case someone out there at Electronic Arts is listening to this and have no idea what I'm talking about, there is a quest over in Lyceum, I think that's how they pronounce it, and it's in Moonglow. And basically you go up to an NPC or something of that nature. I didn't really investigate this too much, but I did read about it. And obviously it's an issue because it is misleading. And supposedly, it's named after a virtue or something like that. And so, if anybody out there from Electronic Arts is listening to this, you might want to have a little look into that and see if there's any plans to do something with that or not. But go ahead, Sakara.
Oh, I'm good. Oh, okay. I was getting half a blank here. Actually, regarding that whole virtue thing, I haven't done it myself, and I was quite surprised to find out that you're not getting any of those virtues. I automatically assumed, since they were named after these virtues, that you would be gaining in those virtues. So I'm like, huh? Why would they do that? Yeah, I agree. It's quite misleading, and they should change it. However, I received a pair of earrings. I'm trying to remember. Let's see if I have my character. Oh, yeah, she is. I got earrings, Transparent Heart. I'm not even sure if it came from one of those quests. It was a gift. And I couldn't help but wonder if it came from those new virtue quests that they have introduced. But yeah, I think it's kind of sad that they would introduce that and it doesn't work with the virtues, because that's very misleading. But I guess we shouldn't complain that they are bringing in new quests, but they definitely should name them differently, or at least make them give some of those virtues.
Yeah, well, maybe this is something in regards to the whole revamp of the virtue system that we don't know about. Maybe this is a step in preparation for that revamp. Maybe that's why it's there, I mean, that's just speculating as to why it might be there and it, actually not be tied into the virtue system directly. But yeah, at this moment in time, it is misleading. Go ahead, AzRek.
Well, regarding Transparent Heart, those earrings, there was a thread on Stratix where people were noticing individuals selling them for $2 million. One vendor even had them up for $10 million, saying they were an uber rare. For everyone listening, they're not. You could do the quest in under 10 minutes with no trouble at all, really. So I'll just say, do the quest. If you want those earrings, don't listen to the scammers. Don't listen to the people that say it's a rare. It is not.
All right, and there you have it. All right, let me pull up something real quick. I might lag out a little bit because I am pulling up something on Stratix. Something about gypsy headdresses for $4 million on Siege Perilous and everything being blessed. Just quickly, I want to put this out there for all you guys out there on Siege Perilous and everything that play on Siege Perilous. If I'm not mistaken, Spyderbite and AzRek, y'all play a little bit on Siege. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Spot.
About
Okay.
50% of the time.
Okay, and how about you, AzRek? Are you just now getting into Siege, or have you been playing there for a while now?
Been playing it for a while, but yeah, it's about 20% of my time.
All right, so, this is some good information for you guys in case you guys are not aware about it. On Siege Perilous, there's apparently a gypsy headdress that's going around for 4 million gold and everything being sold up on Stratix and everything. And should you come across this, just know that this will probably be unblessed later on. It's supposedly right now blessed for the time being, but that there's plans to change that later on. So please do not be fooled into thinking that that's going to probably be the way it remains forever. But go ahead, Spyderbite.
The way it's supposed to work, and the way when Public 38 came out, they unblessed all items, or clothing items, all items, that had special modifiers on them, besides resists. So, in essence, most headwear was supposed to be unblessed. So it will be addressed. If there is something that has more than just the basic resists on it, this headdress that they're talking about, whoever buys it is going to wind up with an unblessed headdress eventually. Eventually it's going to happen no matter what. They're going to fix that. They put too much work into this patch, and in this patch, with the exception of the Christmas gifts, was focused at the Siege players to get the personal blessed deeds in and balance out the blessed clothing and that sort of thing. So, if anybody is foolish enough to purchase that, I've seen it in the past happen where some item bleeds through from the trammel shards, or I shouldn't say trammel shards, the trammel facets onto Siege, and eventually they fix it. People are winding up with crap, and it's worth nothing, but they paid millions for it, a month earlier. I would not worry about it, and anybody who's foolish enough is going to enjoy it for probably a week or two, maybe. Pub 39, maybe. Pub 30.
Well, that's interesting because after, Wilkie basically addressed that and everything and pointed that out, that it was going to be changed, the thread went from Gypsy's headdress, 4 million, no Wilkies allowed. I found that really interesting, funny, as a matter of fact. But, I do want to point out something else and actually move on to something else. There's a possible PvP fix for all you guys that play out in Feluca and everything. And it's called, let's see if I can pronounce it. It's some kind of mathematical word. Logarithmic? I can't even say it. But it's supposed to be, can any of you guys say it? Yeah, damage. So, that's supposedly going to fix PvP or whatever, or it's supposed to be a possible solution to the PvP problems. My question is, do any of you guys understand any of that? And because when I look at that, I'm like, huh? What is this? I don't mean graphs, the concept behind it. Let me put it this way. When it comes to math, I'm not exactly the best person in the world. That's not exactly one of my strong points. So when I see something like that, I'm like, yeah, okay. But go ahead, Spyderbite.
Well, I'm kind of in the same boat as you, Vice. Shamefully, I flunked algebra 8 times in college, and passed it on the 9th time when I finally paid a freshman to take it for me. So I am horrible at math myself, but from the way I understand it, it's gonna do more than just help PvP. It's gonna help all sorts of things, like the guarantee gain systems on the production shards, and that sort of thing. Because right now, the way it stands, they want to yank 8x8 out, and that's going to leave a system where it's on their random number generation, and they just need a better way to generate the odds. That's the word I was looking for, the odds. When somebody attacks you, what are the odds that they're going to hit at a certain point based on what they're wearing, what they're doing? With a logarithm, it's going to make it a little bit more predictable. If I'm wearing this, I'm doing this, I'm in this situation, I'm running, I've got this much stamina. what are the odds that I'm going to hit? Now, this is not what the person's thinking because they can't do those mathematical equations in their head while they're, PvPing or training or whatever. But the computer's thinking that. If I'm running this logarithm through my systems, and these huge mathematical equations that neither you or I will ever understand come out and say, okay, and it's going to be consistent. And I think that's what the devs are working for. Draconi can probably correct me without releasing any, EA information, but the general route where they're going, they want it to be more consistent. I think consistent is the big word here.
Yeah, I'll just leave that up to developers and hope for the best, because, that just, throws my mind into spin. I'm like, it's just like, I don't know. Consistent is all I heard, and I'm like, okay, good. I just have no overall idea as to how that's really going to work. So, it's just a foreign language to me whenever you talk about that kind of stuff. But go ahead, AzRek, tell us what you think.
Well, Mr. Tech basically did state that they're going to, for lack of a better term, fix the random number generator, and that is going to it doesn't quite break 8x8. What it does take into account some of the movement from what I understand, but it'll just make skill gains slower yet more consistent. I was standing at Luna Bank yesterday just doing the Pally, Divine Sacrifice, or whatever the hell it's called. I know it's the guy with the sword icon, plunging it into his own heart. I was doing that and just healing myself. I was sitting at Luna Bank and gained 30 full points just standing there and basically sack healing the people around me. Well, I went on a boat and tried it, and yeah, there were still gains there, but they were a lot slower than the 8x8 I'm used to. So they're working to fix it. Now, if he gets rid of 8x8 altogether, that'd be great, but then we're going to have people that are abusing the code and just standing there over and over, like I was. So I don't know how it's really going to fix anything. That's the point I'm trying to make. Yeah, you can take away 8x8, but then people are just going to be standing at the bank, flame striking themselves again.
So yeah, something about impressing your wife. I like that little comment. All right, so let's see. Go ahead, AzRek, are you done, or do you want to add something else to that?
Sorry, noob moment. I'm done.
All right, so let's see. Okay, well, I'm going to move on to our next topic here and everything, because we noticed that the Grim Omen has been making a lot of graphical art changes and everything like that. I'm actually kind of curious, will we ever see a day where you can wear a sash over your robe? Because, there's been a long... I don't know if you guys share the same feelings as me with regards to the sash, whether or not you can wear it over the robe. But, surely you guys have, at one point in time, in your UO career or whatever, wish that you could maybe wear your sash over your robe or something like that, where, it ought to be, in my opinion, it ought to be the most top layer item. If you got the sash on, if you're wearing a sash, it should go over any wearable item that you're wearing at that point in time. Maybe you guys would agree with me. If you have a difference of opinions, please let me know about them. Go ahead, AzRek.
Yeah, I was annoyed by that also. When I got my first Brit guard sash, I was so happy. Then I put my Blaze robe on, I'm like, damn it? And the Blaze robe at that time was actually crafted by someone very near and dear to me in game before I had GM tailoring, so I wanted to wear them both. Now, I'd like to see it be the topmost layer also. Another point I'd like to make, I'd like to see underwear you can actually change. I've been wearing the same underwear on my one account for 31 months.
I bet you anything a year from now, we're going to see something like a token or something that allows you to dye your underwears or something. I guarantee you. With all the weird promotional items we've been seeing, or the weird items in which EA has been putting out, or giving us the ability to do, I would have to imagine that's going to be eventually one of them, where you can either, change the color of your underwears, or change the look or appearance of your underwear, so something like that. But go ahead, Deadeye.
Yeah, I think the sash ought to be topmost anyway. Let's face it. I mean, in real life clothes, even in the days when sashes were commonly worn, and they are still worn to a certain extent today, they are a decorative piece of clothing. They are meant to be seen. You don't wear a sash under anything.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I do hope that the grandma out there will hear this, and hopefully, when he's doing all these universal wearable changes and stuff like that, maybe he'll address this whole sash issue to where the sash is always on top, because I mean that's how it should be. I mean it just makes perfect sense for it to be that way. So that's actually going to move us on to our next topic and everything. I'm kind of curious with the new holiday gifts out there and everything, everybody going out and claiming their holiday gifts. How are you enjoying the holiday gifts? Are you enjoying them, or what are your thoughts and opinions about them? Me personally, I've actually had several people come up to me and say, hey, I got holiday gifts on Europa, or do you have your holiday gifts on Europa? I'll give them to you. I'll give you my holiday gifts on Chesapeake and stuff like that. And I really sat down and thought about that for a minute. And and I go to myself and I say to myself, you know what? I do this every year. Where I end up with about 40 or 60 of these things, right? Because I go in on all these different charts where I have characters on, get all these gifts and trade and everything, and at the end of the day, I just realized, it really dawned on me, hey, 2 years from now, I'm going to have about 60 of these things that I ain't got nowhere to place these things, and they're just eating up valuable house space. I'm kind of curious whether or not do you guys trade, X-shard these items. For example, if you know somebody that wants these items on Europa, do you meet up with them on Europa, give them these items, and then get it on your home shard, or what? I mean, I'm kind of curious about that. So tell me a little bit about the whole Christmas process, whether or not you do it, and whether or not you like them. So starting with Spyderbite, go ahead.
Up until this year, I was like you, 6 characters on every slot, on every shard, and I pretty much brokered them, or cross-sharded, or whatever, cross-traded, whatever they call it, for years while we had Christmas gifts. And this year was the first year, even though the items were a little more unique, I kept a Christmas tree for each house that I owned. And then the rest of the stuff I've been giving away to friends who needed an extra reindeer, or needed a reindeer named after a developer, or a sleigh named after a developer. And I've pretty much just been keeping the tokens, the fragments for my own characters, and using them. And I even ran 3 or 4 over on that, so I gave 2 of them to friends. So this year, I don't know, it's kind of weird. Maybe it's reflecting my real life thing. I haven't really gotten into the Christmas spirit yet, even though I got some Christmas lights blinking behind me, but I haven't done anything. I haven't even logged into another shard other than Sonoma or Siege where I play, and grabbed my stuff, put it in a box, and waited for friends to show up to pick it up. That's what I've done this year, but that's just me.
Yeah. Okay, well, AzRek, let's hear from you.
Well, I have done a little trading, but I would like to give a warning out to all of the UO players. If you're going to trade multiple deeds, whatever, do not just hand them all over to the person on the shard. Do them one at a time. Yeah, I know, log in and out, back and forth amongst the shards. It's a pain. But doing them only one at a time, you won't get scammed like one person did. They did like 5 or 6 in one shot. Well, the person logged out. They were supposed to log in on the other shard. Next thing you know, they log off of ICQ. They never show up. So they ran off with the gifts. Now, one gripe with the gifts is for all the Siege players out there. The Soulstone Fragment. It's deco. It has no use whatsoever on Siege. You're only allowed 1 character per account. And I'm sure Spider wants to make a comment about that. Right, Spider?
I don't think he hasn't. Well, do you? Go ahead, Spider.
Oh, I just want to say, on Siege, yes, it's only limited to 1 character, but those tokens are tradable, and many people already have a bazillion of them. And since they made Soulstone, the full Soulstone tokens, tradable. I've seen people with their houses lined with them and can trade skills, every 48 hours and change into a completely different template depending on how many soul stones they have. So on Siege, yes, they are used a lot. The fragments, that's more for long-term stuff. For me, for example, if I want to go try a different template, I think long-term I may switch to this template forever on Siege or until the next, nerf comes to my template. But I want to save something because those soulstone fragments only have 5 charges on them. You got to be careful with their usage. It's not going to be a daily switch thing like you can do with the full soulstone. So they do have some value on Siege actually, but it's for the long-term players or the long-term templates, not the ones who want to switch back and forth between my mage template or my fencer template one week to the next.
Well, I guess we'll get back to that maybe possibly later, but go ahead, Sakara.
Well, I have to say, the previous years I too used to go and collect them on every shard on my gazillion accounts. But, I'm not doing it anymore. This year I'm probably going to collect them. I'm just going to log on, on the various characters just so that they receive the bag, but I'm not actually going to bother trading them or sharding them. And I think one of the biggest reasons for that is because I find that over the past couple of years, they've really gone in overkill mode as far as the Christmas gifts are concerned. I wish they had kept some sort of rarity to them instead of giving every single character a full box. They should have made it where each character on your account gets a different gift. If the box has 5 items total, then it would be 1 item per character on your account instead of having every single character get all 5 items. Because to me that's really just like an overkill. Like I'm looking at all my characters, each and every one of them got a Christmas tree. Each and every one of them got another one of those those balls. It's just, to me it's just too much. I mean, we already are in a game that has really shifted to item based. We have items coming out of our ears, and all these Christmas gifts, they're cool. I'm not going to say they're not cool. I think it's really awesome, especially like those little reindeers. I'm still waiting for my Draconi reindeer, by the way. But, I think it's cool, but it's just too many items. And there's really no need for trading like we used to have before, where you would get one gift and then there's this other one you wanted, and you would really go out there looking for the, looking for somebody that would be willing to trade one for you and stuff like that. So, I think that would have been a lot more fun and a lot more of an incentive for me to actually bother with the whole, trading gifts with people from all over the place. So, I just think it's way too many gifts.
Yeah, I would have to agree. After 8 years of collecting all these gifts and everything, it's like, whoa, where am I going to put all these extra gifts? And yeah, they're different from last year and everything, but all those years before, I mean, they was pretty much similar or the same. And so, I probably got 8 years worth of Christmas gifts from every year since 1997, and it's like I have no place to put them all. And when I do it, every shard, trade these shards and everything, I end up about 60 Christmas gifts every year. And you just, you do that number times 8, and that's how much house space is getting eaten up. And then, and then a few years from now, you'll be lucky to give them away. So, and they're only seasonal, for the most part and everything. So, I wouldn't leave these things out all year long. Some people do. But, I just ain't going to have no place for them. So I was like, no, I think I'll pass this year on the trading of gifts and everything from shard to shard. But, what I really think needs to happen and I already said this once in one of my UORadio talk shows and everything, is that I think players ought to be the ones purchasing these gifts in-game from a vendor and giving them to other players, because really the holidays is about the gift of giving, not the gift of receiving, you know. So, I mean, I guess if you're sharding these items and everything, you are basically giving, you know, in the spirit of giving, but, you know, rather than the spirit of receiving. So, I mean, I guess there's that, you know, spirit, you know, trading or giving or whatever. But, you know, I really don't see that too much, you know, occurring in Ultima Online. I would like to see the spirit of giving in Ultima Online whenever it comes to Christmas gifts and stuff like that. I mean, that's how I perceive Christmas. You always need to give something. And I just don't I haven't seen it in the last 8 years. Probably won't see it in the next 8 years either, but, you know, it's an ideal. Because, I mean, that to me is what Christmas is all about. Giving and spending time with those that you care about. But anyways, let's see, what was I going to say? Oh, well, I forgot. But go ahead, Spyderbite.
Oh, I just wanted to comment on what you said just now. That's kind of the feeling that I've had this year, is that, you know, I've traded gifts for years when everybody got one on every single character, like Sakara said. And this year, you know what, I've had more fun just walking around to my friends, whether it's on Siege or on Sonoma, and just handing them a reindeer or a sleigh or a globe and going, here, no, I don't need this. You know, you have it. I know you want to set up a display or something like that. And giving them away, and they're offering me money and stuff like that. And I've had, like I said, I had a few tokens, and I said, no, take it. You've given me enough. Worma VIP said, let me buy yours, and he demanded to buy it from me, which is his way to demand everything, of course. Love you, Worm, if you're out there. But no, I want to give it to him. It's a gift. On top of that, I also would like to see these things turned off at a certain date, like you kind of touched on. Oh, there's nothing more depressing than running through the lands of Caesarea on whatever shard you're on in the middle of July and seeing a house lit up with Christmas trees and snowmen. It's just, I mean, it just takes out of the as a role player, it takes out of the feeling of the game. It makes me want to turn the music back on that I turned off in 1998. But that was my feelings on it.
Yep. And so, you know, that about wraps it up and everything. We're just about out of time and everything. But I do have one last question, and it's something that, you know, I've always wondered about and everything. I'm kind of curious whether or not I'll be getting my Christmas gifts if I never log into my character. And let's say 3 months from now, I log into my character. Will I still get my Christmas gift that's due to me, I guess you might say? Am I still going to get my Christmas gift, or do I have to log in now in order to obtain my Christmas gifts? So I'm kind of curious about that. I guess we'll find out. What I'm going to do is actually not log into one character, come back 3 months later, log into them, see if I get my Christmas present or not. My guess, though, is somehow you got to log in before the next publish or whatever. But anyways, with that said and everything, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up with what I'm giving my family for Christmas. And a lot of people's laughed about it. But I'm giving every family in my family, you know, like, you know, a family. What I mean by a family is a family that's got like a husband, wife, kids, and all that, a household. What I'm giving my family is light bulbs. Yeah, I know, everybody's going to laugh. Yeah, but, you know, these light bulbs are special. And that's because they put out 100 watts and they only use 23 watts. But if you want to learn a little bit about, more about that and everything, you can go over to the forums in my little DJ's Corner. DJ Viceroy, station owner / Chesapeake or whatever, and you can find out, you know, more about these special light bulbs that actually consume less energy yet have the same output, and you can actually lower your energy bill and actually produce less heat with these light bulbs. But that's what I'm going to do for my family. These light bulbs, by the way, are $8 a piece, so they're not cheap. I'm giving about 8 away to a family. So that's $64 a family. And with that said, Deadeye, go ahead.
Gotta tell you what, Chief, you really light up our lives. You know that?
Yep. Every time they turn on that light, they're going to think of me. Oh, how I love Viceroy. Yes. Yep. Every time they get the energy bill at the end of the month, they're going to think of me. But go ahead, AzRek.
I know they're going to think you're cheap.
Well, you know, I don't exactly make a lot of money around here, but hey, you know, I just figure, you know, that'd be something to light up their day with. So, yeah. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I do want to wish you all a Merry Christmas out there and a Happy Holidays. And I hope you all have a safe travels and everything like that if you're going to be out traveling around this holiday season. Also, remember, we are not going to be having any interviews for the next 3 weeks or anything like that. So we're not going to have no interview tomorrow. We're not going to have any interviews for the next 2 weeks. Same thing for the talk shows. Next 2 weeks, we're not going to have any interviews. We'll be starting up our talk shows and interviews again on January 7th and January 8th. So be sure to tune in for that. And so with that said, I'm going to go ahead and close up and give everybody here a chance to close with a closing comment. So starting with Sakara, do you have any closing comment?
Well, pretty much the same as everyone else. Just want to wish everybody Merry Christmas, Happy New Year as well. Just be safe over the holidays. Remember, don't drink and drive. Just have fun, you know. Like, remember, Christmas should not be about what elite gift you get, but, you know, spending time with your family and just remembering the good stuff that you got to do this year and the good stuff you'll get to do next year. And remember to make your resolutions for New Year's. Everyone's resolution should include being extra nice to me because I deserve it. And just, you know, make a few good resolutions and try to keep them. And remember, you have till the 31st to pick out and eat all kinds of really, 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 really bad stuff for when you say among your resolutions that you will be starting to take better care of your health. We always say that, and we never do. So just feel less guilty by picking out till the 31st and then behave in January. So thanks, everybody that joined us for the show. And, well, I'll be looking forward to being with you again after the holiday.
Yeah, we look forward to seeing you all again in the new year. Yes, that's right, 2006. Woohoo! But anyhow, go ahead, AzRek.
Well, this one came across from EA's lawyers, so I can't say, you know, Merry whatever. I'm going to say acceptable non-denominational holiday that does not have the potential to offend anyone. Yeah, I'm against those politically correct people.
All right, and then of course we have Deadeye here. Go ahead, Deadeye.
Well, I want to thank everybody for joining us today for our talk shows and everything, and we'll be looking forward to getting back with you on the talk show in January. Yeah, and I want to wish everybody here, from all of us here at UORadio, a very, very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Yep, Merry Christmas. Yep. I am Spyderbite.
All right, well, I'll use the immortal words of George from Seinfeld, Festivus for the rest of us. Now, happy holidays to everybody out there. And wouldn't be a great talk show if I didn't plug myself. Stick around for about 3 more hours and catch me at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight. We'll see you guys in the talk show after the New Year's.
Yep. And that does it for me. I am DJ Viceroy from Chesapeake, and I do want to thank you all for joining us for UORadio Talk Show, episode number 20, here on December 17, 2005. And thank you once again. See you in the new year.